Hi there. Welcome to the Producer Joe Show. There's no secret who is on the show with me today because she's sitting right next to me. Laura Koval from Santee. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Joe.
I'm going to try to turn sideways now. I'm not used to having two people in here, so we're going to make this work. How you doing? Thank you for coming.
I'm doing fabulous. How about you?
I am great, and that did not work. And this is the problem with being my own producer of the Producer Joe Show is I need a producer. So
Well, you got a cat out there. Delegate.
yeah, well, Cat and my daughter Cat. So plenty to choose from here, or one of the ogles of chickens that I have out there, which you'll meet.
Awesome.
Anyways, so hi, welcome. This is going to be a busy week. There's 3 shows this week. I got Laura today, Garrett, who has transformed the Ramona City Hall, Town Hall, into a movie theater for the 4th of July. He'll be on the show tomorrow. And then Thursday will be Shotgun Tom Kelly for the book that he is debuting here on the show. So pretty exciting that he's going to debut it here. But anyways, so where shall we start? I'm wearing my Padres shirt.
Very cool. I love the jersey.
And you're wearing your
Team USA.
USA.
USA, yeah. I'm a big track and field fanatic, and so once every 4 years I get my Super Bowl.
Well, I do know that you have a history with the San Diego Padres. I'd love to start there. You and I have never actually had an in-depth conversation about what you did there. I've seen some stuff online, but I would like to hear it from you. What exactly you did?
Okay. Well, I started working for the Padres in 1983. I was 17 years old, but a couple months away from being 18, so I kind of fibbed on my age. And I started out as an usher. How you got hired back then is you just showed up into the parking lot at Jack Murphy, Gate G, stood out, and if someone picked you to come work that night, you were working. And on your way out, you looked on a board, and if your name was up there, you were working the next night. There was no such thing as a schedule. You just showed up, and if they picked you, you worked. And then about halfway through, I did that for all of 1983. And then halfway through 1984, a gentleman named Doc Matai, he saw me working at one of the, what are those long escalators that used to go to the top level. I was standing out there that night, and he said, "You look like you're halfway intelligent." What a line.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You look like you're halfway intelligent. How would you like to work half as many hours and make twice as much money? I said, okay. So he took me into the ticket office, and I met the gentleman that ran ticket operations, and I became a ticket seller the next day. And from there, worked my way up through the organization. When I retired in 2011, I was the director of, they called it ticket customer service, but that basically my role was overseeing season ticket holders and the account reps, and in charge of season ticket holder renewals, fan loyalty programs, so junior Padres, frequent flyers, all that kind of stuff, and disabled services, the call center, so the phone room, and online sales, and the lobby. A lot of departments, a lot of responsibility, and
your timing couldn't have been better. 83, 84.
I know. It was just kind of funny because, and at the time I was at Grossmont College going, so I had that. I had my, I was working, going to school full time. I was on the track team, and then I'm working the Padres at night. I was just so exhausted, but what a fun time. What a fun time. And I thought, oh, wow, is this what it's like to work in baseball? Ha, ha, ha. Of course, the next World Series was 1998. We had a great year in 1996. That was a fun, exciting year. And we were close. I actually went up to LA for that series against the Dodgers, where we ended up beating them in LA.
Was that the extra game of the season?
I don't know if it was an extra game. 1990.
1996. I thought we had one extra game we had to play against the Dodgers. I might be wrong. We've had so many
Crazy.
playoff appearances, you know.
Yeah. So it was the one where Chris Gwynn had the big hit.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So that was exciting. But yeah, I have so many great memories of my time there, and was able to do a lot of unique things. A funny story is when I was an usher and I first started out that first year, one of my jobs was to walk around the plaza level and hold up whatever the giveaway was going to be for the weekend.
Oh.
So that was funny.
That's cool. I think I probably have a couple of those giveaways kicking around the yard and house here.
What was your favorite giveaway if you could pick one?
I liked. Is it on
the mini bats?
The mini bats. I mean, you can't hand those out anymore because people will pound each other with them, obviously. But I think that was cool. I do have a pair of the KFMB foldable headphones out there, which I really like. I think they still work.
Wow.
Oh, I don't even know where anything is anymore. I have so much crap. It's the baseball radio, and you turn it, and it's KFMB.
Oh yeah, I remember
plastic. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Do you remember Tuba Man?
I remember the name. Much like
maybe some old school people remember Tuba Mans. And then there was a gentleman who also would sell the Union Tribune. I think it was on the Sunday games, and he'd walk around, and when he was all done, he'd put up his hands and walk around the whole stadium, and everybody cheer him on. Just great fun. I don't know. It was just very niche. Obviously, the Padres weren't good for a lot of years, so the fans found ways to enjoy the game, not necessarily with the play on the field. We just had our own fun.
When we got that taste in '84, though,
wow! It was magical.
I mean, you still go on Cubs message boards, and they're still pissed about it. But you know, that's sports. You know, somebody's got to be a winner, somebody's got to be a loser. What was your favorite giveaway?
Oh gosh. You know, I have a lot of them. There were some pin sets that they gave away that they would form a design. I think one was actually a bunch of pins that made the stadium. I liked that one. There was a season ticket holder bag that was really nice. I really liked that one. That was 2004 or 5. Everything related to opening up the ballpark in 2004 was pretty cool.
Yeah, the replica stadium. I have it out in the workshop. The replica stadium that holds the ticket.
It holds a ticket. I have that one.
I just thought of another one too. The replica World Series ring.
Yeah, I have that too.
Yeah.
Although I have the actual. I have it on a necklace. I should have worn it. The replica ring. I've actually got the ring because I worked in the front office. So I should bring that in, or at least show you.
Wow.
I mean.
And you couldn't bring it over.
Hey, one of my closest friends works for the Giants, and she has the display.
Thanks, Bochi.
Yes, and Flan.
And Flan. So you saw a lot of players go on the field. You saw a lot of players leave town. Which one to you, could be positive or negative, had the most impact to you?
For me, my all-time. Well, impact is different, but you know, my all-time favorite, Tony Gwynn. When I was at San Diego State, obviously he's a San Diego State alumni, and when I joined the track team, he was still going to San Diego State and working out, doing workouts with Ron Sheffield, who was the head women's coach there at the time, or not head coach, but he was one of the coaches there at the time. He was training with Ron for his speed. And so, you know, he was just such a great guy, just, you know, normal, which he never had a big head or anything like that. Just a great guy. And, you know, I actually, when I hear his son on the broadcast, it brings me comfort in a way to hear that familiar voice that I grew up with.
The same.
He is exactly the same. And I just love it. But impact, I'll never forget Ted Leitner talking about this guy, Kevin Brown, who we traded for. That's when he started talking about him, because I would listen. It was part of my job to know what was going on. Mm-hmm. He was so excited about Kevin Brown. I don't know. anything about Kevin Brown, but he definitely made the whole pitching squad better, and we wouldn't have had 1998 without him. He was definitely an impact player. I think of Steve Finley. I mean, he had a great impact on the team.
Loved Finley.
Yep. Trevor Hoffman, who wasn't a pitcher and came over, and Kevin Towers developed. Well, he didn't specifically, but that was the vision, and became one of the greatest closers of all time. There's so many.
Yeah, he was a shortstop in the Reds organization, and they converted him into a pitcher. And I mean, as they say, the rest is history.
He and Mariano. Bells, that's right.
Oh, hell's bells! I got a story about that one. I mean, he and Mariano Rivera were so good that the Fireman's Relief Award was renamed for each one of those in each division.
Yes.
It was pretty cool. I say that because there's a bunch of kids working at work now because I'm old and it's just kids there now.
I'm older. So.
But well, I had the radio on and Hell's Bells came on. I'm like, oh man. He goes, what? And he goes, oh, I know. And he goes, oh, it's the Undertaker. And I'm like, dude, I'm old. Why don't you go ahead and here start hitting things? I get animated, but yeah, that just like drove a nail right into my heart. I'm like, oh, I'm old, but
I mean, that was magical, right? And do you remember when in the playoff in 1998 when Kevin Brown came out of the bullpen to pitch? Oh my gosh! I mean, obviously it didn't go our way, but what a moment!
It just showed you the fortitude that the guy had. Yeah, I'll do it, sure.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was in the stands for that, ticket selling part was done. Everybody had a ticket. So I was in the stands. And when he came out, and it was very unexpected to the crowd, people were jumping up and down and screaming. I felt like I've never had this feeling before. And in 1984, when Garvey hit his home run, that was, goosebumps. Every time I watch it, I get goosebumps because I was there. But this moment, like the air felt different. We were all jumping up and down, and I felt like the air was lifting me up even higher with just the noise of it. I've never experienced anything like that. It was so loud and it was so exciting. Once again, it didn't go our way, but it was a great moment just to experience it. There is something to be said for live sports, and being there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've lived here my entire life. I've been a Padres fan my entire life. I've never been to a playoff or postseason game ever. I've never seen a baseball game outside of San Diego other than spring training. Oh. I'm sheltered, and now I'm jealous of you. Well, that and the World Series ring.
Well, that's pretty cool. I chose to have my World Series ring as a necklace. I thought I would wear it more, which is true.
No, except for today.
Sorry about that.
So if you'll see my record up here, 1984, if you'll remember all those songs.
I do. I have the same record. I have the same record.
Oh, man.
And thinking about sport, I'm a big sports fan, obviously. Did you know that I am in the JK Conspiracy? Do you know that movie?
I do. I actually have it out in my workshop.
We have so much in common.
We do. We really do. Yeah. Oh, did we just say
we just did. Pinch poke, you owe me a Coke.
Jinxies. No, that's fun. Tell me about it. Tell me about your experience with that.
So I was always a big fan of the KGB morning show, and my boss at the time knew I was. And Chainsaw reached out this was in 2004. He reached out, he wanted to do some filming at Petco Park. And so my boss said, hey, they want to do nobody had time in 2004. I'm like, I have time. Got to meet Cookie and the crew, and I took him around to all the different sites. And then he said, oh, you want to be in some scenes? I'm like, yeah. So I know I'm in there. But really what's cool is he gave me a little name recognition in the credits because of my help. But my favorite memory from that filming experience is, and it's never aired, and I don't even know. Well, anyway, Matt and Mud did a scene in JK Conspiracy, and they're in the men's restroom doing a broadcast. Oh, I'm actually standing at the door, at the entrance, making sure nobody comes into the restroom.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And before they actually, they recorded a song together, and that didn't get put in the movie because it couldn't be, but it was so funny. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Those two together were just magic. Talk about great memories. Hearing them broadcast. I mean, the current group is great too, but there was just something fun and magical about those two together.
Matt Vasgersian,
Oh,
his home run call is amongst my favorites. Santa Maria, it's just.
I have a bottle opener that says, that's his voice. It says Santa Maria.
Oh, that's great. Okay, now you got to bring that over along with the World Series ring. Yeah, we've had some pretty interesting players through the years here. I'm thinking about, John Kruk. He was, excuse me, I don't have a cough button. That's something. I don't know.
It's okay.
John Kruk was an interesting duck. Oh, that reminds me. I know when I heard that Ricky Henderson was joining the Padres.
Ricky.
Great. I listened to a lot of talk radio back then, and they said, "Oh, Ricky Henderson's coming to the Padres," and I'm like, I've heard stories. He's a me player. This is possibly that guy couldn't have been a better teammate from what I could see from my side. He was just great.
He was. And I loved watching Tony Gwynn appreciate Ricky Henderson.
Yeah.
And Ricky was just a talent, just so talented. And I love the way he talked about himself. Ricky gets on.
Ricky gets on.
I love, there's certain commercials that just stick with me, and that Ricky gets on. I still say that.
Well, there was a story that's been shared 100 times. Ricky was getting on a bus, and one of the players is sitting in his seat that he prefers to sit in. The player tells him, "I got tenure." Ricky says, "Well, Ricky got 20 years, so move." Yeah, he was God, he was fun to watch. We've had some players, Fernando Valenzuela. We've had some at the end of their careers. Greg Maddux, now the professor, I believe his nickname was. Smart pitcher. Mike Piazza. Mm-hmm. It's easy. I always say
Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts. I have a picture of him making phone calls to season ticket holders. He was sitting in one of our offices trying to help us renew season ticket holders when he played for the team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and my buddy have a game that we play. We text each other, and we just think of the most random names of. Sorry, that's the bird.
It wasn't me.
The most random names that we can think of players who have played for the Padres, and it's just a fun game, And I'll pull out, Tim Tuffle or Sixto Lezcano. Just the players you don't hear much about, but it's a fun not drinking game.
Pigpen, remember him?
Pigpen.
Eric.
Oh, yeah, with the dirty T-shirt. Yes. Eric Owens, yeah.
Eric Owens.
And that's who Jake Cronenworth and kind of a little bit Jackson Merrill remind me of.
By the way, what a comeback win last night.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
It was funny watching all the social media. Padres suck, this, that, and the other. Like, this has not aged well.
Keep the faith. Every year we had a different motto, and it was like, keep the faith, keep faith alive, keep on keeping on the faith.
Oh, there was one a couple years ago that I picked on. I'm not gonna lie, I picked on it because we were in a bad several years, and Padres catchphrase was "We're in," and trouble. I couldn't say it without saying trouble. At the end, because we had a few lean years.
We had a mission October, but we actually did make it to October, so that was a good one.
Yeah. Just got to get to that finish line one day.
Well, I was kind of thinking maybe this, I hope spring's eternal with me anyway, but, remember when Ray Kroc passed away in 1984, was dedicated to him. And of course, this year, Peter Seidler's dedicated to him. And so I'm just hoping that the world's aligned.
It's kind of poetic in a way,
a little bit.
Yeah, I get that. So Ray Kroc was an interesting person, the founder of McDonald's, and then he buys a baseball team. How much interaction did you have with Ray? I know it was kind of towards where you started.
Yeah, I didn't have any interaction with him because at the time I was, 18-year-old usher, and I did have interaction with the players though, because we had to get there early before the fans were in. And one time Steve Garvey, he was doing batting, well, they were doing batting practice, and Steve Garvey hit a ball, and it was a rocket foul, but a foul ball, and it hit the seat right next to me. And he was so sweet. He ran, and his parents were in the stands too, but he ran over to me to make sure I was okay. And I'm like, how sweet.
Oh, does his parents have a perfect hair also?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they had good hair. I don't remember if their hair was as perfect as his hair.
That guy never.
Perfect hair for sure. And then the bullpen was always really funny. And at the time, Goose Gossage was kind of the guy in the bullpen. And I collected the pins when it was Goose Saved the Game, and they would hand them out when people were walking out. So I have some of those pins. I definitely have a pin collection.
No, that's really cool. The pitching staff in '84 was great. Craig Lefferts, Eric Shaw, Ed Whitson.
I do have an Eric Shaw story.
I would like to hear your Eric Shaw story.
Okay, this is a funny one. So Eric Shaw, he was another one that was really nice, and he knew I was in college. He'd always ask, how are things going, this, that, the other. But remember, he's like on the field, and I'm standing up in the field level. So you remember the separation. It was pretty far. So he never had a sense of how tall I am. And for the people that don't know, I'm 6'2", so I'm tall. Eric Shaw's wasn't that tall. I didn't know that either. One night after one of the games, he was walking out to get in his car, and I was already standing outside. And this was the first time we're on the same. we're street level together, and he looked up at me and he said, "Wow, you're so." He had no idea. And he made a joke. He made a joke, some kind of joke, because he also knew that I was a shot put discus thrower, and I, worked out a lot and that kind of stuff. And I said, "Oh yeah, I could pick you up, no problem. I could." And he just thought that was just hilarious. And I said, "Turn around." So I hooked him underneath the arms and I swung him around. The airplane with it, you swing kids around and their legs go like this. Swung him around and around. He was shocked. I thought that was he was light to me.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I remember the first player that I said, "Geez, he's enormous." Was the players were giving away hats at opening day one year, 98, 97. I don't remember. I went into Ken Caminiti's gate. That man was a mountain, and I was just like, "Oh, freaking huge!"
Now, for perspective, I'm taller than Ken Caminiti.
I'm 5'7 1/4", so if that gives you any, yeah.
He's about 5'11".
Maybe it was his width,
or big
yeah,
big guy.
I just felt like he was just I don't know. He left an impression.
Yeah.
But so do you have any other interesting Padres story before we move on to our next topic? Or
I mean, I have a ton, but let's move on.
Okay. So one of the other things aside from baseball that Laura and I have in common is our love for a person who taught us just never grow up, have fun, stay youthful. And that would be Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman.
Yes.
He gets a bad rap, and he was so much more than Pee Wee Herman. If you see a couple Cheech and Chong movies or Mystery Men, but there was just something about watching Saturday morning Pee Wee's Playhouse, watching the movies, Big Top Pee Wee, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, that, I don't know, the guy just made you realize, you know what? I'm not as old as I think I am, and just the hell with it, have some fun, and that's what I've done. If I find out that life gets me stressed, I'll either put the movie in or just quote a couple lines and suddenly find myself happy. And is that kind of how you view?
Yeah, I don't.
Paul Rubens.
The first time that I saw Pee Wee's Big Adventure, obviously in the theaters, that kind of humor just makes me laugh. I have never laughed so hard in my life at a comedy, and to this day, I'll never turn it off if it's on. It's one of those movies that, I show my kids, and then, I don't know. It's just, for me, it is my all-time favorite comedy. My all-time favorite movie is Citizen Kane, but my all-time favorite comedy is Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And there's so many funny lines and scenes, and we were talking earlier, there's some movies that are so quotable. This is one of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite life lesson out of Pee-wee's Big Adventure is the scene where there's a fire in the pet shop, and he runs by and he looks at the snakes, but he goes and saves everything else. And at the end, he goes in and he saves the snakes, passes out on the sidewalk. But
Right.
I'm like, be willing to save the snakes.
Overcome your fears for the greater good.
For the greater good. So there are lessons in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but his death, like there's a couple of celebrity deaths, I guess, that kind of hit you. David Bowie was one for me where I was like, oh, that was a tough one. Prince was another one, and then Paul Rubens. And when the dinosaurs, when they decorated the dinosaurs,
that was fantastic.
I told my oldest daughter, I said, will you go out with me Sunday? I want to go, get my pictures with the dinosaurs. And she's like, yeah, kind of a pilgrimage.
No, that's cool. It's funny because people at work know me and know that I like Pee Wee Herman, and so every now and then one will walk by and they'll say, I want to buy your bicycle. And I'll just roll my eyes, and they'll stand there and then they'll wait, and I'm like, fine, I'm not getting it's not for sale, Francis. And so then they'll just laugh, and I finally get to go on my way. And it was learning to do that voice was a curse.
That was really good. No, I can't do his voice, and that was really good. So
it's just funny because
I laughed.
You from across the facility sometimes, like a huge facility, I can hear some of your bike. I wouldn't sell my bike for all the money in the world. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's so quotable, and like you said, so quotable, but also it's so visually stimulating. Mm-hmm. All the colors and the toys, and it's just fantastic. And then John Wayne Gacy play Francis. And he went on to play John Wayne Gacy.
Right.
But he was in a baseball movie. Gosh, I'm doing like 6 degrees now. He was in A League of Their Own as the annoying little boy grown up. Yes. Yeah.
Another great movie.
I spent too much time on IMDb. It's obvious. So he went on to do his Pee-wee's Playhouse thing. There was a whole thing that went on. He went away for a while, but then he went and did some really great stuff like Blow. Probably the best death scene I've ever seen in a movie, which was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Just
I did not watch that.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
The best death scene ever, in my opinion. Okay. And then Mystery Men, I thought he was as the Spleen. I thought he was just fantastic.
He really, he's one of those on my list, short list.
Well, he made a Pee-wee's Big Holiday or something like that a couple years ago, and
I haven't seen that.
It was okay, and you're still getting Pee-wee. There was some pretty good laughs in there, especially screaming or the balloon scene. But now that he's gone, it makes me wonder because he did know he had cancer for a long time. Did you just do this one for the fans, like his little going away gift? Now I do wonder about that because he adored that character.
I think so. Now that you say that, I mentioned David Bowie earlier, and when he was dying of cancer, like I think a couple weeks before he died, he dropped his last album, obviously. And when I downloaded it right away, and I was listening to it, and then he died, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I re-listened to like the lyrics, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he knows he's dying, and he's making this for us.
I gotta listen to that.
It's Black Star.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. So the title it's a little daunting. I mean, maybe a little bit of a foreshadowing there.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely was.
So it's interesting when these stars go, that they really appreciated what they did and who they did them for, the fans, because like Toby Keith knew he was dying, and he played a concert, I believe, the weekend before
that song. Oh.
It's good to see things like that because you hear so much bad in the world, and it's just good to know that there's people out there who are entertainers who are doing exactly that. They're entertaining us because they do enjoy it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Toby in concert?
Mm-mm.
So my mom had two favorites, Kenny Rogers early on. And I did get to see Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, Island of the Streams tour. Chef's kiss. It was so great.
Where was that? Excuse me. Where was that?
Sports Arena.
Okay.
And then my mom became a huge Toby Keith fan because I worked in the ticketing world, could get by, but get great seats. And I was just going for my mom, but boy, did he put on a show. And then I became a Toby Keith fan. And it reminded me of like the country western shows where I think Keith Urban and Gretchen Wilson opened up for him and won. Another one was Brooks and Dunn. And they reminded me of the epic, like, heavy metal shows back in the 80s, where it was just a bunch of bands that were really putting on, like a Van Halen. I don't know if they're technically heavy metal, but, they'd have like Ozzy Osbourne, Scorpions, Van Halen, and it was a big production. Like, God, that's countries, they knew heavy metal as far as that stuff goes. They just put on such a show. You
mentioned concerts, you mentioned ticketing. There was a thing that the Padres did, going back to the Padres in the 80s. And it was headed up by Andy Strasburg, the great Andy Strasburg.
I love Andy Strasburg.
He actually gave me this media guide and this all-star ballot, the old-fashioned all-star ballot. You sit there and punch.
Yeah.
But Andy got the Beach Boys in there after a Padres game. Billy Ray Cyrus, which I may have been at, which I won't admit.
Don't break my heart.
Oh, God. I heard that in Spanish a few weeks ago, and it's actually still in my head. Earworm. So yeah, it was pivotal in a lot of the Padres staying on the map, getting on the map in a lot of ways, and you struck something with me when you said concerts and ticketing. So
I mean, the Beach Boys concerts after Padres games I think they were usually like Memorial Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What a party! So fun. And Andy Strasburg was pivotal on so many great marketing ideas. Just, he just thought of how to do things differently. Once again, team wasn't great, but people came.
Well, it's a lot like the radio announcers for the baseball games. It's a boring game. They find ways to make it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain people in the front office who find a way to make the season interesting.
Absolutely.
By having certain giveaways or concerts and everything. There's nobody better than Andy. He was so good, and his memory recall. If you don't follow Andy Strasburg on social media,
you got to.
You need to. The guy remembers what was on his plate at a hotel in Detroit when we played the Tigers. It's just it was pretty cool. And
Andy has a couple books out too that are totally up. You probably have.
Dang it! It's in the workshop. I got to stop moving stuff out to the workshop. But yeah, you're right though.
That guy. He's amazing.
And I hit the microphone again. I'm all spastic. Anyways, so I don't know. Is that kind of what we?
Yeah, that's here? I think my last story, because it is actually one that I said, I should tell you about this sometime, is my Bill Walton story.
Yes.
When Bill Walton recently passed away, and what a treasure in San Diego. A lot of people know that, of course, about his professional career, and I think most people in San Diego know he played at Helix High School. So my story is I went to El Capitan, and I was at one. It's a humble brag, but it's true. I was one of the best shot putters and discus throwers, but especially shot putters in the state of California. So I was invited to some invitationals, and one was the Martin Luther King games in Sacramento, I think, Sacramento. Of course, we had no budget. So my coach at the time, his name is Chris Norman, I believe. He said, okay, well, if we can fundraise to get you up to the meet, I have a friend, we can stay at his house. I said, okay. We're up there at this house. He lived in Palo Alto, the friend that we were staying with. And I just remember, and he was tall, funny, teasing the crap out of me because I went to El Cap and he went to Helix with his friend, his buddy Chris. They went to high school together. Oh yeah, I remember when we used to play El Cap. We take our cars to El Cajon, and then we'd have to get out and ride the horse the rest of the way in, and just banter back and forth. But I would give it right back because I was 17 and me. be,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I remember like strange things. Like I took a shower. I'd never, ever taken a shower in my life where I didn't have to duck my head to get under the shower head. Never. And he had this shower head that was like, I go, these are dreams for me. Like when I have an opportunity to make my own shower one day, it'll be up there. I will never duck my head under a shower again. Just those kinds of things. Anyway, have my meet, go home, and then all the basketball players come up to me, the guys, and they're like, tell me what he was like. I go, who? Bill Walton. I go, oh, it's that Bill Walton. Like I just, after the trip, I put together that I stayed at Bill Walton's house. That was the friend that hosted me for my track meet up there. And I'm glad I didn't put two and two together, because obviously I knew who Bill Walton was.
Yeah.
And the reason why he was in Palo Alto at the time is he was injured, and so he was going to law school. I mean, the guy's super smart. So he was studying, and he was just so gracious. I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad I didn't know it was the legend Bill Walton. It's just this guy that my coach went to high school with, because I acted normal. He, of course, acted normal, like probably he always would. But I don't know. It was a great memory. He signed some stuff for me. And then fast forward, one of my high school teachers became friends with Bill Walton, and he and I served on a committee together. This is when I worked at the Padres. That was our connection to help grant write. This was when grant writing was brand new, so we were helping schools grant write for grants to get money for certain things. So we were working with like El Cajon Valley High School to doing some, just being the names, to help with that. So what a loss. But that's another guy that up until the end he was doing. I mean, obviously he knew what was ahead of him, but he was still another one of those people we were talking about, that he was there for people.
Very giving.
Like
really
a very giving person.
All around San Diego too. I mean, you see him. He's on the radio. He's on TV. He's out at Sequan, I think it was. I don't remember which one is his, but yeah, you just saw his face everywhere. It was good, because we need that kind of publicity here in San Diego. Little small big town. But I guess we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
We're going on 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, almost 40 minutes.
How did that happen?
Well, I really do appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting me here.
Yeah.
I secretly I kind of wanted to see some of your stuff around the room.
Yeah. Now you're gonna meet the chickens and send you home with some eggs.
Super chicken.
I remember that. Oh, gosh, we didn't even talk about the San Diego chicken.
Oh no, but I have a bobblehead collection too.
Oh.
And I have the chicken. You probably have that too. The bobblehead chicken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was a good one.
All right. Well.
Okay. Thank you, Joe, for having me in. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Now I'm going to tease the next guest, which is tomorrow. There's actually back-to-back shows this week. We got Laura today. Tomorrow, my friend Garrett, he is revamping, I think it's only temporarily, the town hall up in Ramona to be a movie theater for 4th of July. And they're doing a vote for an honorary mayor up there. So a lot of fun stuff going on. He'll be on tomorrow. And then Thursday, we have Shotgun Tom Kelly, who may have a couple of guests along with him. And as I mentioned earlier, he's going to be debuting his book right here on the Producer Joe Show. So having said that, I will roll the outro, which has Garrett's teaser on there. So thank you for joining, and share it, subscribe, smash that subscribe button is what the kids say. Smash. All right. Thank you for joining us.
You.
All right.